Position that has to move from a selfish kind of thing. And I mean, the children are cute, but they are a little bit self-centered. It's the nature of being a child. The adult has to be able to choose the good for the other, to love. If you don't make that transition, there's a selfishness that's bred into us and is preyed upon by our fallen nature. And so it's not so much a gift of giving to the other. It's a manipulation for myself. And we start to make that into a virtue. We talk about people who are assertive or, know what they want. Okay, to control things. Now, there's a time and a place for that, I suppose, in leadership, but if it's not done in service and I guess respect for the other human being, then very quickly it starts to turn and to twist. Really simple example, we're at lunch today, and we ran out of chicken burgers. We had a hungry table with a hungry priest. So really, okay, I eat chicken burgers, so I wanted more chicken burgers, right? So I got up to get the tray to get more chicken burgers. Thank God there were some right over there. And we had someone at our table, I think she's right at the back. Who's that at our table? Oh, there we go, yeah. She said, "Oh no, Father, you mustn't." And she took the tray out of my hand and went over and got the chicken burgers. That's a very nice thing to do, by the way. It's a nice act of service. And I think she's saying, well, no, you're my guest and you're at my table and I want to take care of you. Is that nice? How far would it take for me to twist that just a little bit and say, you're darn tootin', I'm just going to sit here and wait for this? Or you should do that. Or it's a form of clericalism when I start to say, I deserve this. I'm such a good guy, or I'm such a good priest that people should do things for me all the time. Do you see how it gets twisted? It doesn't take very long, and it's in all of us to start to expect that or to resent it when it doesn't happen. Now, there's nothing wrong with being served. We should serve each other as we need to serve you. Have you ever heard of Madonna House? It's a place not too far from here. It's like kind of a modern monastery. They have about 300 people that live there, and they have a number of priests that are there. I remember hearing a talk one time from one of the Madonna House priests. And he said that, they had discovered in their community a new spiritual exercise that is most effective for their clergy. Everybody's like, ooh, I wonder what that is. The adoration, the rosary. What are they doing that's so effective for their priests? The guy reached into his briefcase and he pulled out a toilet brush. He said, we like our priests to learn how to use these. And we find that when they do, they give better homilies. They're generally more fun to be around. And there's less chance of them falling into clericalism. Because if you can serve in that way, and I mean it, I don't mean just to clean the toilet. I mean, do it because it needs to be done, and you do it for the good of the other. Chances are you're getting the right idea. Because the X factor in all of this is humility. Again, I remember hearing this in a leadership talk. They're talking about the X factor. And I thought, like, drive, ambition, clear vision, relentless effort. No, it's humility. I can't do this. I'm not smart enough. I'm not gifted enough. I'm not talented enough. I need the grace of God, and I need the grace of and help of other people. If I don't get that, I'm going to fail. Because if we don't have that, very quickly, I think what happens is we start to build this sort of pious exterior. I'll look very good, get my eye roll down, oh Lord. And it looks good, and maybe it sounds okay, but if it's not an authentic expression of service and love, then how do I expect God to use it? And as I mentioned this morning, I think it's part of what leads into some of these other problems that we've had. Exteriorly, guys are doing their job, but interiorly, something's wrong or broken, and they can't tell anybody, or they're afraid to admit it. And so the problem continues. And it has terrible effects. And there's like this disconnect that somehow I deserve this, or it's proper to me. It's what we call in the AA movement, it's called stinking thinking. It's like, no. But I need other people to hold me accountable to that and to believe that God can still work within this. Does that make sense? Some of what I'm saying to you is maybe just a touch veiled, but I hope it's kind of resonating with you. This is all of us. If we try to do this ourselves by our own power, we're in a lot of trouble. And no matter how talented or gifted you are, eventually you run to that place where it just doesn't work anymore. And if you're not willing to seek the help and guidance of others, that can lead to a very dark place. And that's whether you're a layperson or a cleric or anyone who you are. Do you want to hear another story? Okay, this is a story, true story. This happened back actually when I worked at a summer camp, not so different than this one. So it's a few years ago. And there's a friend of mine from Sudbury, up northern Ontario. He was going to work with us for the summer. He was going to be the cook, and I was going to be part of the counselors. So I drove from Kingston up to Sudbury to pick him up, to bring him back down again so we could start summer camp. Anyone ever drive to Sudbury? It's a long way. We drove all the way up there, and then I said, well, actually, I had a car for a couple of days, so you have to stay and recover. It's kind of like driving to New Brunswick. Like, it's a long way to Sudbury. And we ended up going to his uncle's camp on a place called Manitoulin Island. So it's an island out in Georgian Bay, and it's pretty remote. And he had just cleared a spot in the trees. It was near the water, kind of like this. And he had built like just the basics. It was a foundation with one of those little trailers. And then he was going to build the permanent site later, and he was kind of working on it over the next few years. So we kind of hung out, 3 guys. Of course, that means it's not really civilized. So there wasn't a whole lot of discussion about where things are or anything like that. We just kind of got together, and we kind of hung out for a while. Eventually got dark, and it was time to go to bed. So the uncle was down at one end, and the 2 of us were up at the other. And sure enough, I woke up about 3 in the morning and had to use the bathroom. I guess you don't understand how that works. When you get older, you will. When you're young, like it's not an issue, and then it's older, it is the issue. But anyway, that's another story. So that was never part of the tour. Had no idea. I knew there had to be one in here someplace. I just didn't know where it was. So I started working my way down the hallway, and you kind of open up like one door, and that's breakfast cereal. That's not going to be it. And then another one, and well, that's cleaning stuff. That's not it. And I got about halfway down, and sure enough, there's this tiny little room. It's like a phone booth. And it was, I think the trailer had been made in Korea, because it was about 6 feet high. That was it. And I'm 6'3". And the only place I could stand up in this bathroom was where the crank-up vent is. Like, I put my head up in the vent, right? I wasn't staying there for all night. I wasn't on guard duty or anything, so it was a relatively short thing. So fine, do what you need to do. And I turned to leave to go back to bed, and there's a man standing right in front of me, like right in front of me. And it's one of those fight or flight things. I'm not sure which one I was thinking about, but both of them require you to stand up. So I stand up full height, and I hit the ceiling hard. Like, it wasn't like a glancing blow. Bam! I hit the ceiling. I hit the ceiling so hard that it knocked me off my feet, and I fell against the wall. I couldn't fall over because there wasn't room. I fell against the wall. And I'm sliding down the wall, and I was yelling, and I'm looking over, and Buddy's sliding down his wall. It's a full-length mirror in the door. Okay, true story. That's exactly how it happened. Now, why would I tell you that? Well, it's a good story, but here's the thing. In the light of day, you see the mirror. You might even recognize yourself. In total darkness, you don't see the reflection, and you probably turn on a light. Where I got myself into trouble was there was just enough moonlight that I could kind of make my way down the hallway. It's the half-life, half-truth. So when you do these things and we try to reflect on them and understand them, so often that's the problem. They're not like a total lie, it's a distortion or twisting of the truth. Virtues become vices, vices become virtues. And in a broken world in which we live, so often these things are twisted and distorted in such a way that we lose that sense of who we truly are. what we were honestly created to be, what our ultimate good is, that we're actually in a battle, that life does take effort, that suffering is a part of life. The fact that things are hurting a little bit or it's difficult doesn't necessarily mean you're doing the wrong thing. And because it seems easy and simple doesn't mean you're actually doing the right thing. To be engaged in thinking about what I'm doing and being honest and seeking the help of others. See, it gets a little more complicated, doesn't it?